afternoon. It's another Tuesday, and welcome to our monthly Alumni Talks. So the Alumni Talks is an initiative to establish a stronger and more collaborative connection with its alumni. This program not only highlights the achievements of individuals who have benefited from US-funded programs, but also emphasizes the importance of knowledge sharing and mentorship. They focus on various aspects such as their experience in the US-funded programs, time spent in the US, takeaways from their experience, and the applications of acquired skills in community contributions provides a holistic of the impact of these programs. Overall, the Alumni Talk serves as a platform for building a community of knowledge, inspiration, and mentorship. So each month we identify one of our alumni of our different US funded programs to really come and share their best practices, their lesson learned, and the opportunities that they have acquired while on the US funded programs. And for this month, we are joined by none other than Ms. Ailly Namupala. So Ailly Namupala is actually a communication expert renowned for her expertise in advocacy, communications, and sustainability. With a robust background in strategic communication, Ailly has dedicated her career to leveraging media and public relations to drive impactful community development initiatives. Her passion for empowering communities is evident through her innovative approaches to harnessing communications channels to foster advocacy and promote sustainable practices. Ailly, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you, Josephat. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So welcome to our Alumni Talks. It's really such a great honor to have you here and to share, and also learn
Thank
more about your
you.
experience. We know that, you are one
Thank
of our Mandela Washington Fellowship alumni, and you have, been part of
Yes.
this program since I don't know how many months ago. So you are part of the
Yeah,
alumni that were,
definitely.
in the Obama administration. And I think, the program has really expanded and
Correct.
just went on. This year, we have celebrated our 10th year anniversary for the Mandela Washington
Yeah.
Fellowship. So the idea is really just for us now to have this informal conversation with you, for you to
Mm-hmm.
share with us your experience, your knowledge, and really just inspire another person who's watching the live from our Facebook page. But I think before we
Okay.
dive in and for the Namibian people, so please, you are more than welcome to share your comments. If you have any questions, please hit our inbox there on Facebook so that we can learn more and so that we can
Yes,
also
guys.
engage
Take it
with
easy on
Ailly
me.
and make it easy on Ailly
Definitely.
also.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so much for
without
having me,
wasting
Josephat.
much
I'm really
time.
excited.
Mhm.
Yes. I'm really excited to
All
be
right.
here with you.
So yeah. So Ailly, please tell us more about yourself. Who is Ailly? When people wants to know who is Ailly Namupala, how would you define yourself?
How would I define myself? I usually say to people, I chose communications as a field because I love to work for people. So I call
Mm.
myself the people's communications officer. I am what you see. I'm bubbly. I'm truly Namibian. Because I mean, having also lived abroad for quite a while, when people always ask me, how's Namibia? I go like, I'm the embodiment of what a true Namibian is. Happy, joyful, welcoming. But apart from that, truly, Josephat, I'm a young Oshivamba woman raised in the beautiful town of Swakopmund. I call myself a global citizen, truly. So I am Ailly. I don't know. Get to know me. I guess that's what the session is also about, pretty much.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Ailey. That's really what this whole
Yeah,
conversation is all about. It's really informal, but yet,
yeah,
impactful in terms of information dissemination about a different US exchange program. But then let's dive in now. So, I mean, you are Ailey, you are a Namibian, you are a global trotter, you're somebody who loves people, you're a communication expert,
yeah,
but diving back now
yeah.
into this whole Mandela Washington Fellowship. So please, just tell us about your journey, 2016, how did it start?
Okay.
Where did it start? You know, the
I
whole
think I had,
impactful.
I think I had the most impactful journey of a fellow, I believe, in 2016 when I applied for the program. No, yeah, when I applied for the program initially, I was too young as per the age category. right? So I remember a time where I called the US Embassy, and I remembered, I think George that time answered, and he said, "My dear, if you feel like you are exceptional, then just go ahead and apply." But at that time, I had a lot of negative comments like, "Why would you apply if it says you have to be 25 to apply, and you have to be this and you have to be that?" But at that time in my life, I just felt like I had so many people talking down on me because I was young, I was a woman, and I was just like, but I feel I'm exceptional. And for so long, we all sit in this little cocoon and we don't let ourselves like just, come out of that. So I remember being 23 years old, going to this interview, actually leaving the interview sessions or the application sessions feeling like I'm not going to make it. At least I tried my best. And then ending up being the youngest Namibian in 2016 to actually go to the fellowship in that year. And I was so proud. And it made me tell my fellow peers, like, go for it, guys. Like, nothing can stop you, because if I could do it at 23, why couldn't you? So I believe since then, I think people were able to apply with 23, because I was turning 24 the next year, right? So, in light of that journey, I ended up at Wisconsin. I did the public management track. I was at the University of Wisconsin, stayed in the beautiful city of Madison. And my experience overall was I never knew how big I was until I was placed in a room with other African leaders. And people actually wanted to listen. People wanted to hear your narrative. People wanted to see what perspective you brought to the table. And I also recall that during 2016, we had lost a fellow also during our fellowship, and he was in our state. And it was very devastating because, you come here thinking you're going to change the world, and then something that tragic happened. And I remember being in the US, and we were engaged. Our state, the people that helped us, our administration at that time, was very supportive. We did trauma counseling, looking at how being a young leader and the impacts of all these things that we have no control over can change the circumstances of how we see ourselves and our narratives. So 2016 was a year where I allowed myself to not let other people sit on my light, because I believe like part of the journey was understanding that I was up against phenomenal African leaders. Some of the people that I went with to the fellowship were my peers. Like, they were like 10 years older than me, or, even older. But I remember just sitting there being in awe of all the things I could learn, and all the things not just the things I could learn, the networks I gained. In 2016, when I came back to Namibia after my course in the US, I won't lie to you, Josephat. There was such a large support system. There was nothing I did not have. If it was about grants, I could apply for them. If it was about contacting my old university, even now, I still use my old university at Wisconsin's database for books, for research, for programs and stuff like that. So and I still talk to my fellows from 2016. We still do projects together. We still engage each other on how we do or implement best practices and strategies. So it has been very impactful for me to realize that the world was much larger than the borders of my Namibian country. That was the biggest impact for me during that time.
All right. No, that's really good. That's really good also. I mean, for our viewers, once again, also please do not forget to post your comments or your questions or anything to Ailly here. But then Ailly, again, maybe if we could take like a step back, we spoke about this beautiful program. So I know that from the embassy point of view, we've been trying to share on our social media platform, our Twitter and so forth, telling about this whole Mandela Washington Fellowship program. So for you as an alumni, how would you define the Mandela Washington Fellowship program? What is it? What does it entail? And yeah.
I think looking at what it was before when I joined and how much bigger it has gotten. And I think in 2016, that was the biggest, because that was the last year that President Obama was, in fact, there physically himself. I think we're the last group to experience him in his awesomeness, if I can say that. I think what the fellowship stands for is just about creating a network of like-minded people. I think we easily forget that it's very easy to sit in rooms and feel heard. But I always say to people, you can't be heard in rooms so people don't have like-minded thoughts. I'm not saying we should all be tunnel-visioned people, but if I sit in a room and I say, "Hey, Josephat, I want to make an impactful change. Let's host a readathon." and you don't feel like a reader, then I'm stuck because I'm discouraged already. But Mandela Washington Fellowship has done for me is I'm able to decide that I'm in Botswana this week, or let me say, I was in Zambia a while back, and I remember being stuck with something because I was doing work, and I just went onto my group and then I posted something, and the next thing I know, I was added onto a Mandela Washington Fellowship group, and then all of a sudden I had people come up to me and be like, "No, you're an alumni. We want to support you. Where are you? We'll host you. We'll take you out. Let's show you our projects." So for me, it has really redefined what service to the people is, because we all want to be impactful, but sometimes we don't have a space. And I feel that through the fellowship, we are given a platform to engage other people that can empower us. I'm also a tool of empowerment to somebody else. And then more so than that, I feel the Mandela Washington Fellowship has become a database to signify and to symbolize to everybody else on a global spectrum that we as Africans are really changing the narrative of who we are as people, as a community, as a whole. Because a lot of times you say, "Oh, I'm from Africa," people think what? Really backwards. I must say, some of the things that I could
Yes.
impart on my fellow people outside of the Namibian or outside of the African continent, I still am surprised of how little people know about who we are. So I feel the fellowship, if I could summarize it up for myself, I feel it was a network that allows me to branch myself out everywhere without being everywhere at the same time. Secondly, I believe it was a platform that the US Embassy or the US state government gave us as a whole, where we were able to just truly, without any reservations, hey, because sometimes we're unable to reach our fullest potential because we don't have a platform where we can actually just be who we are. I found it to be a platform that allowed me to not allow other people's opinions, other people's um, perceptions to take away from what I believe I stand for. So it's a platform that put me in a room with like-minded people that allowed me to grow, and I never had to
Yeah.
dull my light. I never lived in fear of being too exceptional. And that's one thing that I believe as a Namibian. Sometimes we are so good at what we do, but so many people infringe on us that, "Oh my gosh, Ailly, you're too loud, you're too bright, you're too this." But being a fellow or being an alumni just allowed me to be bright. As a matter of fact, it forced me to be even better, because you had to be exceptional, but the exception was not good enough. You had to be great. And just, I think the biggest takeaway for me was at the end of the fellowship when President Barack Obama spoke to us. And we were sitting in this room with so many African leaders, and he said that it's enough. Africa is not a charity. You are all sitting, living proof that the potential lies within all of us. So I walked out of that room knowing that I don't want to be a charity case. I want people to come to me because I have a voice and I need to be heard. So that is, in a short, condensed way, I would say that is one of the things. I felt I had a platform where I could be who I wanted to be, you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'm seeing also some questions that are coming in, but before we dive into that, so as we know the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program is a program that takes place for about 6 weeks in the United States. So the American government select, about 700 young leaders, from sub-Saharan African countries into 3 different tracks, that's public management, civic engagement, as well as business and
100%.
entrepreneurship,
Exactly.
to really go and network and share their experience and share their knowledge and skills. So you mentioned the university where you are based, you
Yes.
mentioned the states where you are based, and also that. So maybe just go through us, what was the whole day like in terms of the session? Was it like Monday to Sunday trainings, or were
Okay.
there business engagement, were there seminars, what was
So
like a normal typical week like?
typically how I would put it is we had I would say I was a student, because typically I was with the university students. Specifically, we were tasked to speak with people from the Leadership Institute, as well as the people from the African Studies Department. And then we had different state government bodies actually come and speak to us. We met some political figures, and then what a day would look like normally is on every Wednesday of the 6 weeks we had Leadership Institute Day. So this is where we spoke to each other in group sessions about the type of leadership we see in ourselves, identifying the type of leaders we were, and then any other day was just like going to school. Because at the end of the day, we got to do a whole graduation ceremony. We got to be really part of the student life. We even had to eat at the cafeteria like the other students. We got to engage also outside of the people that we went with from the fellowship. We got to engage with other students from the university. And then what was really cool, what the state government did at that time is on the weekends we had a lot of engagements where, for example, we would go and say, for example, one of my favorite thing was we went to Chicago and we did like what is it? We did like the food experience in Chicago. And then they came back and asked us how was that for us. And they just gave us a card. They were like, go out, have a cultural exchange day, just wander around. Then we had stuff like when we were in Washington, a lot of people wanted to maybe like say engage in say at that time the First Lady Michelle Obama had a club for young ladies, so you could sign up for it. And then if you didn't make it, you still get invited to like a kitchen tea with another part. So it was really just like going to university. And then on the weekends we did a lot of engagements with other people. And then also to diversify our experience, we had host families. So every Friday you would meet a new host family and they would host you, and if they wanted to host you again on multiple occasions they could, but because we were told about the diversification, we had different host families. And I was very blessed because most of my host families, they would fetch me and I would visit another state during the weekend, or they would fetch me and I'll go volunteer. So some of the highlights were just like being able to like see a lot of I was so blessed to have been able to see a lot of the US. And because most likely because of the public management track, because I think a lot of people, unlike like communications, people don't realize that public management is a very diverse field of study. So I was immersed in so many unique opportunities. So it was very well rounded, very holistic. I got to experience the US like a student, the US like a young adult with a lot of money to spend, and then the US like a tourist, and then the US as part of a family oriented setup. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's quite a nice, experience and engagement. I'm
Yeah.
also seeing that now we're having a couple of questions from our audience. So this whole
Yes.
purpose of the alumni talk is really also just to hear from the audience themselves, because they are the
Okay.
one that really has the key questions, that can be able to make them also eligible candidates next time for the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program. So
Correct.
number one, we are having Daisy, and the question is, as an individual, how would you advise a 16-year-old that want to make a mark or impact in Namibia?
Hi Daisy, thank you for your question. I think when you're 16, the biggest challenge is your social group, and then also the social pressure of trying to find your purpose. I think you shouldn't look at it like try to make a mark. What are the little things that you're already doing right now within your community that have made you stand out? That's always what I used to ask myself. What makes me exceptional within my community, and what type of changes have I seen in myself when I do these things? So I personally would like to advise you that if you want, you can reach out to me personally. Like, you can take my details and reach out to me. But I believe the first step to putting yourself out there is just to get going. Don't get stuck on what will people say, how do I make an impact, because sometimes you're already making an impact without realizing your impact. Second question.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that really ties also into the second one. The second one is
Yeah.
actually more of a comment from Esther, and she's
Mm-hmm.
saying that I feel stuck at the moment. Opportunities are
Mm-hmm.
really out there beyond our borders, but the support within the borders is not there. So I don't know. Maybe if you want to reflect on that and maybe talk about
No,
what are your
I think
views
I
and.
would like to I would
Mhm.
like to just jump on that because I think, hi Esther, and I think I will, if it's okay, Josephat, can I take Esther's question or the statement she made, and then the question that came from the third person, Tia? What are some of the biggest challenges you faced when entering the program? I think because they're interrelated. I think one of the biggest
Sure.
challenges is that we hear about opportunities, and because oftentimes I found myself at a stage where my biggest challenge was procrastination. The opportunity I've read about on the newspaper, or my parents will come in and be like, oh, you know what, we saw this, and they share it with me. And then because I'm so preoccupied, maybe at this time with school or trying to get into university or all of these things, I find myself failing to keep up. So what I did for myself myself is, especially when I learned about all the projects, and believe me, the first time I went to the US with the US Embassy, with the Mandela Washington Fellowship, it was the first time I ever knew that the US Embassy actually runs programs. And after I discovered the Mandela Washington Fellowship, I said to myself, how can I center myself into a space where I know and I'm not left behind with these opportunities? The both of you, I believe, are in very unique positions, because you now have the social media age where everything is instantaneously at the click of your finger. So follow the Instagram pages, follow the Facebook pages. And then additionally to that, all these websites, they have even Mandela Washington Fellowship. Even if you don't want to apply, you can actually create a profile, and then you can start, because there's also sessions on there where you can start practicing on the best way to present yourself, what you can do to make yourself an eligible candidate. You can already build a portfolio that allows you to say, look, if in the next 5 years I see myself being a fellow, these are the things I need to acquire. These are the things I need to work on. So just be very hungry to empower yourself with information. I think for both of you, your questions are just pinned on, we don't have access to information because sometimes we don't look for it. And trust me, Josephat, or any of the people that work at the US Embassy in the various departments, they will tell you there are multiple projects geared for 16-year-olds to 18-year-olds, 18-year-olds to 25-year-olds, and all of that. You understand? So it's very important to just make sure you are surrounded by the type of information that you're trying to get. And as for Esther, support is always there. Are you failing to ask for it? Maybe that is a challenge.
All right. So there's another question also again there. I don't know, maybe you can take it yourself. This is coming from Moses.
Yes. I see. Yeah, I got a question. You are a triple act. You can sing. You are a great public speaker and an excellent office administrator. What inspires you to achieve, and how did you acquire the skills? So, growing up in a very poor community, and I must also just put this out, I believe I am exceptional because I'm loved at home. Not loved at home just in my normal home structure of my mom, my dad, my siblings, but in the whole community of Swakopmund. When I put my best foot forward, people push me to excel in whatever it is that I tell them that I want to be good at. But I was very hungry to be good at everything, because I followed the notion that if I was good at a multitude of things, I would always stand out and there will not be a sector that I can't get into. And also because, guys, this is the sad reality. You cannot always be the best at what you do, but you can be the best at what you put yourself forward to do. So what I did for myself is I told myself, if it's about learning how to be a mechanic, I go to the mechanic course. If it's about being a singer, I was a professional singer for over 15 years. I sang in the opera, I sang in the choir, I acted on the stage of the National Theatre. If it's about office administration, or my passion as a communications officer or community development officer, I empowered myself. I found myself in rooms, and also where I failed to not notice if I had, maybe they didn't have it at the US Embassy, I'll contact somebody there and be like, do you know a person that is doing that job that you can connect me with? So those are some of the things that were very impactful to me, because mentorship is not something we learn about in our communities, because it's not something they go straight forward as mentorship. They say, oh, Ailly, you are so much like Josephat, but never connect Josephat and I. We are just so much alike. But if you look about it, if you look at it holistically, when somebody says, oh, you weave baskets as well as your grandmother, that means that skill set is there. And maybe I just need to sit more with her to be as skilled as what she is, So it was hunger, pure finding my purpose. I wanted to be good at everything because I wanted to know that I didn't miss a sector.
Awesome.
More
So take it
questions?
along, take it along, take it along. We have Jenny and then
Okay, cool.
also Nango. So if you can take those two.
Okay, so Jenny's question is just, as someone who went through the fellowship, do you think there's also room to improve? And if so, what would you want to see improve? I think for me, Jenny, that's a great question. I think for me, the biggest challenge for me initially for us, because we were 1,000 fellows, because it was a celebration granted that was Obama's last year. So during the fellowship, we had a discussion with our university that we felt the narrative at which they wanted to teach us things was not in par with what we already knew. So we told them that these are the things that we have challenges with. with. These are the things we thought we were going to be taking away. So granted that we actually told our university at that time that we didn't feel that what they were offering us, or in terms of the curriculum that we were providing in the beginning of the course, wasn't speaking to where we wanted to see our end goal. The university actually said, okay, so if you guys could create a curriculum, what would it look like? So we sat together as a group and created our own curriculum. And the university was so welcoming. They really amended and changed it to meet our needs and requirements. And then so also one of the things that I love, and Josephat is part of that, he is the new alumni coordinator. Sorry, Josephat, I forgot. But Josephat now, he's the face of, if I have a challenge and I want to apply for an opportunity, he's the first person that I just ping. I'm like, yo, Josephat, can you assist me? So I feel that is a great takeaway from where we started to where we are now. And then additionally to that, I just feel like there should be more room for Namibians to be exposed to applying for the fellowship and maybe catering to how Namibians like to do everything last minute. Maybe we can look for an alternative where we can empower them. Like I said, let's create profiles and build those profiles. So by the time the fellowship comes next year, people are not messaging us at 5:49 for something closing at 6 because they want to participate. Let's be more proactive. But more than that, Jenny, I invite you to engage us outside of this platform as well, so we can also just discuss with you how we've become better at what we do. Because I also believe I'm the face of telling you to come and sign up for the fellowship. I'm the face of telling you come to the U.S. Embassy and engage us. So talk to us a little bit later, and we're more than happy to share some more information on how things have improved and have been altered. Nango, how did you find your why? As a final year STEM student, I'm not sure in which direction to go after this, and I have a set skills and enjoy things okay. So how did I find my why? I asked myself when I left school, I wanted to be a lawyer. I think a lot of people know this. And then I went and worked at the LAC because they used to do this thing where the students can go and do like internships for a few days or talk to a lawyer. So I had a lawyer assigned to me and I could ask him questions. And then after engaging him, I didn't like it. I was like, that's not my why. And then further on, I decided to ask myself 5 questions. And the 5 questions really, they change. I always say to people, write those 5 questions and over the years, change them. But my why was I was passionate about seeing people succeed. I was passionate about people understanding what made them tick. So my why was people. I already knew from a very young age people pushed me. So when I knew it was people, I had to eliminate. Do I like working with people and blood? No. So it's not it wasn't medical. Do I like working with people and money? No, I'm not mathematical. So then it kind of changed. And then one day I met this amazing communications officer at a career fair, and he said to me, "Do you know what communications is?" I said, "Well, it's talking." He said, "No, it's much more broad than that." And I was like, "Ooh, what could I be something with that?" And he told me these are all the skill sets. And then I realized it spoke to wanting to build community. So my why was always people. And once I identified that, I shifted my space to making it smaller as to what about people is it that I love. And I realized serving people was my why. So narrow it down. You can speak to me a little bit more and I'll engage you, or I can pass you on to Joseph because they also have great STEM projects at the US Embassy, and there's some great people there that could also talk to you. But your why doesn't have to be rushed. The one thing that the Mandela Fellowship has taught me was why changes. Why changes in regards to where we are, what we are doing, and what situation we find ourselves in. Okay. Uh
I'm seeing the one from Shamburu is really coming to
Namupala.
us from the end, so I'll
Okay.
answer on that.
Yeah.
And the question was really
Yeah.
like, my question is to the US Embassy. I know it might be beyond the scope of your work. How do you ensure the less privileged Namibians who resides in rural areas get access to some of this opportunity? I'm asking out of curiosity because in most cases, we always see people in cities and big towns getting these opportunities. So we do, from our embassy side, we have different programs and different engagement that we do. One of the projects that we work on is we call it the Youth Sandbox. So this is where we sort of like, provide opportunities. My colleague is also here, Paulina and Moses, who can maybe also touch on that if time permits. But that is how we sort of like go into the region, engage with young people on key issues. So we have traveled to Angwediva, have traveled to Valdes Bay and other regions also. Next week, we are also having some of our colleagues who will be going all the way to Karasberg, to the southern part of Namibia, to really talk about the different education USA offerings that we are having in Namibia and how young people or any Namibian can take advantage of those also. And thirdly is that we also have our corners. So we have the American corners in Walvis Bay. We have another American corners also up north on Dangwa. So we try to make use of those corners also to share opportunities and also to host information sharing sessions so that, you know, any ordinary Namibian can take part of these opportunities and initiatives also. But if you want to have more information or learn more about this, so you are more than welcome to give us a call or email us at the embassy so that we can also share some of these opportunities with you.
Correct.
But now I will hand it over to...
And I think just also to tell them that most of us as alumni that have been through the fellowship, we are everywhere in Namibia. So sometimes we do get stopped by people that tell us, you know what, Ailly, because I remember myself and a fellow, we went to another part of town, and it was because a young group of people were just like, you know, can you guys reach out to us? So we are not limited, like Joseph says, and we are always here. Whether it is that we do it like this, because you are watching us now on a social scape, or whether we come to you. But like Joseph says, we are always here to assist. I'm going to take it away. There's another question. Did I experience any cultural shocks in the state, and what are the similarities or differences? One of the things that I experienced, because it was 2016, was the Black Lives Matter movement. So for me, it was a major cultural shock because I'm only Black when it mattered. Okay, because in this regard they want me to march for this movement, but at the same time I would sit in a room and people will ask me, so you are from Africa? I'm like, yeah, I am from Africa. I'm from the continent of Africa, but I am from Namibia as a country. And there was such a lack of information. It made me upset in the beginning, but then I realized that as an ambassador, like the moment you step outside of the borders of your country, you become an ambassador. So I stopped being angry and I started educating people on who I was. And I also started changing some of these narratives that they had. Like, for example, I don't know why people still want to ask me if we have elephants and lions living in our backyards. And it's still something that we come across. And I realize it's not people being narrow-minded. It's just because they really have not been educated that as a continent, we are prospering. So that was one of my biggest shocks. And then the other one was, why do you speak English so well? And I was just like, English is our first language apart from the 13 other languages that we speak. So that in itself was that. And then the last shock that I had was being a woman didn't matter. I think that is one thing that as a young Namibian woman, you always try to step back into your shell because most of the time I have to conform to the my socialization. And so it didn't matter there. Gender equality existed, and nobody cared whether you're black or white or a girl or a boy. It was fine. So that was one of the things that really shocked me. And the bathrooms. Ooh, the bathrooms. Just jokes aside, everybody can use the same toilet. I was like, but moving on to another question, if I think. How did you go about, what is your definition of community? Is one question. The other question is, how did you go about applying for this program if you're not from Namibia? Okay, that's also a good question. Tia, I believe you're from South Africa. Hi to our South African viewers. How did the experience impact your personal development? I knew once I left, so I'm going to start with the community. Because, like I said in the beginning, I am loved at home. I have always had a community. I've always had a sense of community. When I was doing my projects and I'm looking for support, even now, because I'm doing a few projects right now, and I go and knock on anybody's door or go onto somebody's WhatsApp and just say, hey, I need assistance, my people never let me down. I just want to put that out there. Community is people that got you. When you're failing, they will not fail to tell you that you're failing and this is how you need to get better. When you do great, they celebrate you. Like this poster was put up and everybody was bombarding me. They were like, you better speak well, you better inform us. So my sense of community is people that just cheer me on always, people that speak positivity into me, people that celebrate my small victories. How did the Mandela Washington Fellowship change me and my personal development? Once I left, because that was apart from traveling obviously with choir, that was one of my biggest international tours. And guys, everything was paid for, everything was provided to us. We didn't have to stress about anything. My experience the first time about getting a US visa, everything, the journey in its own, starting from home all the way to the US, it was catered to me. So one thing that made me realize is that I also wanted to be outside of Namibia. So immediately afterwards, after coming back, I did a lot of projects. And in 2019, I did leave Namibia. I did immigrate to another country. So I'm an expat in another country. But why I want to say that correlates is because if I hadn't had the opportunity to also step out of to see international borders, I don't believe my parents would have been comfortable with me just going. Because I mean, I was young, hey? Because I mean, for us, our parents don't see us as old until we are 35, I think. So I can honestly tell you that that experience exposed me to being very resilient. Like I realized that I could do it on my own. Because it's not like I had Namibians with me at the university. I was all by myself, and then I had to make friends with other African fellows. So it taught me that I wanted to be outside the border. I wanted people to know about my country. I wanted to be an ambassador. You know, the other day somebody asked me, "What is your end goal, Ailly?" I told them I want to be a diplomat. You know, because I feel I embody that. I am the personification of who every Namibian is. We want people to know about who we are. And how that changed for me is that apart from that, I did work for an international company. I've lived outside of Namibia now for almost 6 years. Do I miss home? Yes. We don't have platforms like these outside of Namibia. And if you want to apply for the Mandela Washington Fellowship, it is actually for all Africans, and every country does have their own does allow their own people to apply. I will share the thing with you, the links with you, and the organization as a whole. But also, if you just look up mandelawashington.org, you will go right to the page. You can make a profile, like I said, and you can read up about what it is that the Mandela Washington Fellowship stands for. And also, everybody must understand it's not just that one time that you go to the US and that's over. After that, we celebrate stuff like Mandela Day. We celebrate stuff like readathons. We celebrate your act of kindness day. We celebrate reflection of our true leadership. So there's so many platforms. Like right now, I'm doing these free courses on the Mandela Washington Fellowship about my role as a leader, as a woman. It's something that I found on there recently, and I found it quite fascinating because I just thought I didn't think about what type that my leadership was based on my gender, but I loved learning about that. So it was a great platform. And because we're running out of time, I just want to see that I don't miss anybody's questions. We have a serious issue of alcohol and drug abuse in Nepal, especially school-going kids. If you get time, even next year, would like the embassy and the alumni to have an engagement with the youth. Okay, so I can tell you this. I used to live in Nepal. I used to be a translator in Nepal. I used to translate English to Oshiarero. I don't do that anymore, but I used to. And I am very much with you. That was something that I was also very passionate about. I did actually an engagement in Nepal for a year after I came back from the US, and was focused centrally on understanding the value of money. Mhm. And people used to ask me about why that, because I said every time I paid employees in a pool, they would go buy alcohol. Then I remember telling my boss it wasn't because they just wanted to buy alcohol. That is what they knew. They thought, I have money, I'll buy alcohol. So I will definitely speak to Josephat. And we'll see what we can do. But I believe it's not just the alcohol, it's also substance abuse. It goes beyond alcohol because that's just a what you call it, it's the first step to the long-term addiction. So we'll definitely look into that. I'm very passionate about that. One of my new projects for the year 2025 is looking at how we best better our narrative as young people. Even myself, I told myself that if I'm going to speak about substance abuse, I'm going to tell myself as a casual drinker, I'm going to stop drinking. So, to be truly in touch with what you're saying is a true problem, let us look at it from a very holistic perspective. And I'll definitely get back and engage you with that one. And maybe we can work together on that for the poor community. Frau Waltraud, you are such an inspiration. Thank you. I'm home. I'm home. I'm inspired to be back home. Danke. Why should young Namibians volunteer their time in helping out any community project? And what did the fellowship teach you about volunteerism? So I didn't learn volunteerism per se in the fellowship. I already had a very big understanding of what a volunteer was and to do things because it was an act of service towards others. But the one thing that the fellowship did establish in me is that you could always do things because you want to help other people, number one. Number two, I always say to people, before you assume that to be a volunteer is a non-paid entity, there's a lot of money that goes through volunteer organizations. And people forget that everything is run like a business. To be a volunteer is to be an employee that accepts that outside of being paid, I'm happy to do the work for free. I volunteer a lot. I volunteer for a lot of things. And over the years, I've also become very vocal about it. I tell people, if you want me to career guidance, I'll do it for you for free. If you want me to write CVs for you, if you want me to check profiles for you, if you want me to sit with you and develop a strategic communications plan for your company, I will do that with you. I think what the fellowship has done for me in terms of teaching me about volunteerism was that it is even bigger than just giving my neighbor a peck of soup. I remember, and I'm very passionate about that still. And now that I'm back home a little bit, maybe I'll be able to engage with that again. I remember that for every birthday, I used to go all out and have a party and celebrate with my friends. And until one day I was like, I get so many gifts and I have so many things. I can just ask the community, like, I don't want gifts. Why don't you give me 5 macaroni? Somebody gives me, and I promise you, for 5 birthdays, I had volunteers come out of their own accord. All I did was post a poster on my timeline. People brought food. We played with kids from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening. We did all sorts of reading, running, exercise, and it was all people that just wanted to do it. So it taught me that if you pull together a community and you tell them the idea and make them understand the strategy behind why you volunteer, people just want to do it. And so I must say Namibians are the biggest in terms of volunteering. They're the biggest cheerleaders for that. And I also know that sometimes we feel abused in our space of volunteering because we don't get paid for it. But I can definitely say the Mandela Fellowship taught me that there's a bigger audience of people that will also propel me to be a volunteer and also support me in this cause, if that's an answer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're
So
doing great stuff there.
yeah.
I know that you've taken the show in your hands, which is actually good because the whole idea is really to engage with your audience
Okay, that's
also.
fine.
But there's a question also around, passion. What advice would you give to an individual who's struggling to find their passion or career path, careers that they would like to pursue?
I can tell you one thing. And I don't want to sound like I'm encouraging something bad, but it's very hard to find what you're good at if you don't try a lot of things. So I say while you're in school, try to expose yourself to a lot of things. I can tell you guys, I love being a communications officer. For example, my current work is not communication. It's communications as a whole, but I'm a customer experience coordinator. So I realized that right now in my state of giving myself grace, as I call it, I've come to the conclusion that I want to be a teacher. If you had asked 10 years ago, when my teacher actually told me, Ailly, you would make a good teacher, and I said no. If I wanted to be a teacher, I'll tell you no. But in terms of your career, you should also be very agile with your ability to adapt. Because, for example, a long time ago, communications officers got work left, right, and center. Now people are looking for people with strategic communication backgrounds, digital marketing communication with political affiliation, So you have to be adaptable and you also have to want to expand your knowledge, because I think a lot of times we choose a career and we are stagnant in our growth because we only understand one narrative of it. So in terms of careers, I always say be very open to knowing that you will not be in one place for a long time. Also be very open to engaging with people within the same industries as you, because there's always something to learn. And finally, be very graceful to yourself that in 5 years, if you don't feel that that is necessarily what you like, go back to the drawing board. I'm not saying quit your job, quit school. All I'm saying is revisit what it is that drives you, revisit your why, and then sit down with yourself and just say, okay, I've seen this. I already have this skill set. How do I grow onto that skill set and how do I move forward from there? That's what I would like to say.
Awesome. No, I'm seeing more questions are coming through. So please do, if you have any question for Ailly, the opportunity is now. You can see that she's passionate about what she's talking about, and she's really eager to answer to every questions that you have there. I know that there was a question also that was posted or around Opuo, and yeah, so we from the embassy will just also put that, into consideration also maybe for next year, just to see how we can also reach the community or the young people from that area also, and to talk about our offerings. For those that are interested or would like to reach out to us, our email address is there, is windhoekpublicengagement@state.gov. So if you want to shoot us an email on that email, then we'll be able to respond to your questions or any queries that you would have. And now handing it back over to you, because I'm seeing another question also from Moses and something else also from Easter.
Yes. Easter, I appreciate it. To communicate effectively to donors in terms of their projects or activities. So the biggest thing that I've seen about Namibians is that, or us as Namibians, it's a us thing, is that we are so passionate, we are so driven. But when somebody tells me in 2 minutes, tell me what your project is about, it's like you are not the person behind the project. So effective communication also says that you are supposed to be able to tell people about your strategies. You're supposed to be able to promote your activity, and you're supposed to do it so confident that people don't have a doubt that what you are saying and talking about and want them to engage in is something that is maybe not, that doesn't align with them. So what I want to always say to people is, before you put that great idea ahead, like look, for example, for me, I was very vocal about the things that I love to do, but I was always affiliated to organizations. So it was always very easy because our communications strategies was always in place. Our advocacy documents were already, or plan was already there. And our sustainability moving forward in terms of how we're going to grow and how we're going to put ourselves out there was already there. But there are people that have amazing projects, amazing ideas, but it's not written down anywhere. The idea is you, and it just stays with you, and then you do something and nobody engages you. So what I want to say to people is, be very loud about the space you occupy, and also call us out. It's so easy to say that, oh, I'm Ailly, I'm for the people. Call me out and say, you know what, I heard you talking last week, and I'm wondering, could you come by and let's have a look at my page, or come by and see what I'm doing with the kids in this rural part of Windhoek, or come and engage me on this. It's very easy to communicate what you want to people if you just effectively tell yourself, like, I'm going to write it all down. Communicate your idea to yourself before you sell it to other people, because only when you are able to actually reflect and look, okay, look, I've written down 10 things, and you say, oh, this doesn't align with who I am, then you can effectively sit there and say, okay, Ailly, here's 1,000, what would you do with it? Hey, I would start a nonprofit organization that focuses and promotes the well-being of people in line with their career choices. And then you can just ask me, what do you mean, Ailly? I mean, my new passion is telling young people to find their why early on, so that they know how to feed that why and how that aligns to their future career and academic prospects. See, I didn't even think about that. I've written it down this afternoon. So I knew exactly, if somebody asked me, here is some money, what would you do with it? So be very vocal and be very loud. And I think also something that I've really noticed, especially since I've been out of Namibia for a while, is that we are so scared of taking up space. We are so scared of how our peers see us. We are so scared of advocating for what we stand for. And the question that is also here that somebody asked was, speak of advocacy. Can you expand more on that? How can I put a plan of motion to advocate for a cause I'm passionate about? You are the cause. If you want to advocate, because advocacy is to care, right? The word advocate comes from the word advocare. So, and that speaks about promoting a certain cause. Okay. It refers to supporting or promoting something. So, if you're passionate about something, you should people should see Ailly and should be like, ooh, she says she's a public speaker. She's speaking in public, confidently so. So I want you to challenge yourself by saying to yourself, I had the book here somewhere, but I want you to challenge yourself with saying, I want to be in a room with like minded people. I'm going to write down what my cause is about, who it is for, and if it has a target audience, who the target audience is. Because sometimes it's not that your cause is ineffective, it's because you are speaking of your cause in the wrong room. The audience you are translating what you're passionate about and who you are telling your purpose is not the right one. And until you can like efficiently make a plan and just structure your ideas, structure what you want to do, you fail to execute because you are failing to plan effectively. So I think, just in line with speaking about who I am and what I love and what I'm passionate about, and how the fellowship and how the people in the US Embassy have always been supportive to me as an individual, I believe that oftentimes we don't want to take up space because we don't want people to see us fail. Failure is such a beautiful thing, guys. I can tell you this today: to fail is the best opportunity to become better. If you fail once, the second time you fail again, oh, it was step one, I failed previously, now I'm failing step three. I just want to say that we need to be so mindful that, apart from wanting to stand out and to shine bright, we need to allow ourselves room to fail. And if we don't fail and we do exceptionally well, that is when community comes in, because we are supported and elevated by such a larger group of people. And I just want to tell you that fellow, as the youngest fellow in 2016, and I know I was the youngest fellow in 2016. I remember some of my peers who were older than me saying to me, you won't make it. You're too young. What do you bring to the table? And you know what? I told those people, I was like, I am the whole damn table. Pardon my French. But I realized what that did for me was propel me. It made me want to prove to everybody that I am able. And when people told me I can't, I just told myself I can. And when people told me, oh, Ailly, that doesn't align with what we think you are, I told them, but that what your thoughts and what my strategy for myself are, they are not speaking to each other. So I stuck to it. I authentically lived my why. I authentically empowered myself in every space. I remember when the US Embassy was doing those business writing trainings, and people will be like, but you communicate so well in English. Why are you going to an English training? I'm like, because in this room, I met two people that taught me how to write business proposals for tenders, for example. So all I'm saying today is, opportunities are only there to feed a small part of your passion or your purpose, if you want to call it that. How you take it and propel it. Because apart from the Mandela Washington Fellowship, I know when I'm ready and settled and still within the age category, I'm going to apply maybe for a master's program, because there are programs that you can academically enhance yourself. I also believe that you should never allow people to speak down on you because of their perception of something. Before I went to the Mandela Washington Fellowship, I did meet people who told me, you shouldn't go, you wouldn't enjoy it so much, it's just going to America. But having gone myself, having immersed myself, was such a great step. And for the people that have applied for the fellowship multiple times, because I have met people who said, I've applied and I've not made it. It's not that you have not made it. Maybe Mandela Washington Fellowship is not your platform. And it doesn't mean that because you didn't make it, you're not exceptional. It just means that there's another platform that you can ask Josephat about, or the other colleagues at the embassy about, or you can actually just go on the website and see. There's so many opportunities for you to shine. You just have to find which platform is maybe for you. Yes.
Awesome. I saw, I'm not sure if you saw the question from Tulinavo. I mean, he's a teacher. He wants to move out of the teaching career. You want to move into the teaching career. So if you can give him some advice on that.
Okay, Telinavo, you want to be a teacher. I want to get out of it. And speaking under correction, it's up to 35, correct, Josephat? Until the age of 35. So you have a chance. Please do not be limited by that. Until the age of 35, you are able to apply. And if you are older than 35, I encourage you to look at the other projects. And you won't believe the exceptional projects that are being done programs that they have under the fellowship, under the flagship of Mandela Washington Fellowship. There are so many other opportunities. And also, apart from the US component of it, there's also a regional component where you can also join like-minded leaders in the Southern African landscape. So, like I say, we can educate you a bit more, but I think the platform won't allow me to exchange enough. I'm sure Joseph will once again just share some of the other opportunities available. And then who want to change their fields and get into communications, working with people are much. Okay. I think communications is a great field to go to, but then again, also remember, we have communication practitioners that are marketing managers. So they branch out, they start with communications and then they branch out to something else. I have communications friends that started as pure communication students and then they branched out to be digital managers. So what is it exactly that you want to do? What is it that you love to do? Because, for example, had I known who I was back then, what my why was, I would have done communications, or I would have just actually straight up said public management and become a community development officer, for example. That still speaks to my stream of work within the communication spectrum. But I can share with you a bit more if you want to ping me in my private space, and then we can talk a little bit more. Maybe we can talk a bit about career guidance in that regard. And then we speak about the youth, how did being the youngest fellow impact your perception of giving youth a seat at the table. We are entitled to having a voice. And look at me, I still have one and very loud. As you not only have the insight on the program, but also the vast knowledge when it comes to Namibia and it's your people. Why don't you actively work for the embassy to expand opportunities? U.S. Embassy, is there any chance to engage Ailly more effectively? I feel very actively engaged, but Josephat, there's the question. Nonetheless, Jenny, opportunities have been there. We have applied, definitely, hopefully. But even if I don't work for the U.S. Embassy, I work with the U.S. Embassy. Last week I was very honored to have been a part of the Youth Sandbox's NGO youth NGO led capacity building, where we spoke about advocacy, sustainability, and communications. And this was on the public platforms for youth to engage us as well. So I'm very passionate, even if I don't hold an official title with or at the U.S. Embassy. I work with the team very effectively, so to get our common goals and common voices out to the community at large. And as easy as it was to find me, Jenny, I'm not very much active on Facebook anymore, but I'm on Instagram. I will share my contacts. If there's anything that you feel that maybe I will be a better host to take back to Josephat and the team, please feel free to engage me. I'm very open to collaboration because that's one thing that this fellowship has taught me. To collaborate is the network you require to be great. I will share my contact information in the comments, and I will also share my social handles in the comments. And then lastly, I just want to say that in line with the Mandela Washington Fellowship application, what I did prior to filling it out, I wrote everything down. I learned about myself and then I set myself deadlines. And this year, when I came back to Namibia now, I was very active with a lot of the youth because I read your profiles, I engaged most of you. I really tried my best. I was overwhelmed at a stage. So next year, hopefully, I can help you more. Maybe we'll do like a session together at the coast. There's somewhere else that people have to read about you. You have to be comfortable about what you write about yourself. So get to know yourself. What I always say to people is take a page every week, just unload. What was the great thing that you did this week? What impact did you make? What impact groups are you working with? Where can you still change? How can you develop whatever skill set you're lacking? And how does the US Embassy or any other organization in Namibia, because the US Embassy also partners with a lot of other bodies within our great space to make impact where they are not able to go. We do know that us as fellows can visit those sites, but I also know of other platforms that have been supported by the US Embassy that have given great voices to people where there was no place or platform. So just get to know yourself and don't be shy. And everybody will always want to tell you that you could be doing better. But the fact that you started is already great. So that is what I would like to say in effectively filling out that application form. And don't let people tell you that you need to tone yourself down. There is no such thing as being too loud. Just be loud with a
Awesome.
cause.
All right. I don't know how to say thank you to you, really, Ailly. You have done such an exceptional job here. You spoke about your life, you spoke about the program, you spoke about, the importance of volunteerism also, and also, managed to answer to all of the questions that were thrown to you left, right, and center. So from the embassy, we are really, really grateful for you and the opportunity. And as you have highlighted also, at the embassy, we have a couple of different US funded programs. Most of our programs, I would say 99% of them are all fully funded. They all take, cater for different age group, whether you are between the ages of 16 and 18, or between the ages of, 25 and 35, or if you want to further your studies and you're in the academic and so forth. So you do qualify for these different opportunities. So do reach out to us. The email was already shared in the chat, and we are more than willing to talk about our different offerings and different opportunities. But it's really up to you as a Namibian citizen to really see what are you passionate about, which career path do you want to take, how do you want to advance your career path, and your opportunity and something that you're passionate about. And from the embassy, we are really here. So do reach out to us, follow our social media platforms, and let's engage online. So once again, thank you so much, Ailly. I don't know if you have any last word in less than 30 seconds, since time is not on our side.
I can do it. No problem. Thank you so much, Josephat, for having me. Thank you so much also for pushing me out of my comfort zone. I'm a very bubbly person, but I'm very reserved about what I share about my life, especially on social media platforms, because people can be very harsh with their critiques and also judging where you are at, where you're going to, and all of that. But what I want to say is, I've always been very truthful to who I am. I've built a reputation centered around being somebody that is always there for other people, being a very somebody that always goes out and assists people. I really live my truth in terms of who I am and why I am what I am. And so, further to that, I just want to say you can hold us accountable, because as Namibians, we need to hold each other accountable in the spaces we speak of. And today, I don't want to be somebody who had 67,000 views on a Facebook page, and then tomorrow you see me on the street and you're scared to approach me. Approach me. I want to make you better so that you can make me better. We are because you are. So I am the face of true Namibia and leadership that says, let's do it together in collaboration to be better. So thank you so much for having me, Josephat. Thank you for pushing me. And thank you, everybody, for the questions. And like I said, I did share my information. Engage me. I will try my best to respond to everybody, but I am available. I'm in Namibia for some time, and I'm looking forward to working with most of you and engaging some of you on other platforms. So thank you so much for having me, Josephat. Thank you, US Embassy, for the great opportunity, and I definitely look forward to other opportunities as well.
Thank you so much, Ailly. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ailly, our Mandela Washington Fellowship Alumni. So do tune in, follow our social media platform for our next Alumni Talks. So that will take place also in the first week of October. It could be another alumni from another US different funded program. So do follow our social media platforms, and let's see about who will be the next alumni in that month. So once again, thank you, and let's engage online. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Josephat. Bye.